All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, you already know what time it is. We got the one, the only. We got Tim Hicks, also known as Let the Dirt Say Amen. How you doing this evening?
Hey man, I'm good, man. Salute to Canada. What up?
I gotta say, first and foremost, man, I've really been enjoying your music, man. ADST, I gotta give a big, huge shout out to him for all the support that he actually gives our Canadian radio station, man. But he's been sending us a lot of your music, and I have to say, man, you are a phenomenal, phenomenal artist, man. So you have so you, I'm really excited to hear what's next for you come 2021.
Hey man, first of all, thank you, bro, for even having me on here. Definitely big shout to ADST. All the work that brother's been putting in is, part of the reason for uh, the word getting out about what I'm doing. 2021, I got a follow-up album to my debut album. Coincidentally, my debut album, Bullets, which I released under the name Tim Hicks and the Dirty Church, or Tim Hicks X the Dirty Church. That album went on to win Best Rap Album at the Whammy Awards, which is the DC or DMV area version of the Grammys. So I took the Best Rap Album Awards, and now I'm working on the follow-up to the Bullets album. And the follow-up is going to be called God Hates Gucci. But definitely, like you mentioned before, this album will be released as Let the Dirt Say Amen.
So what I have to ask you there, Tim, like taking you back to the beginning of your career, like what actually inspired you to get into the music industry initially?
Honestly, man, I've been in love with hip hop since I was like a real small kid. And music has always been kind of in part of my family's, structure. Like my parents were always singing around the house, you know what I mean, playing soul music or some sort of variety of different sounds as I was coming up. So, I was one of those kids that was lucky enough to catch a Rap City, catch a Yo on TV rap, you know what I mean? Which that stuff might sound ancient to the cats nowadays, but that was the foundation for everything. So, honestly, like I said, it's been since I was a child. I think maybe right around 17, 18 is when I was like, yo, you can actually do this, man. You should focus on this and try to get sharp with it.
And I got to say as well, man, you know what I mean? One thing I actually noticed before we actually did this interview was like, as you mentioned, you actually released, your most recent record as Tim Hicks and the Dirty Church. What actually made you decide to switch things over to let the dirt say amen? Like, what's the story behind that?
Okay, so the name, most people know me coming out of a crew called the Cornell West Theory. Shout out to my man Dob, a.k.a. Hoodie the Nigerian, and the rest of the squad. But the Dirty Church was a name that my friend Rashad came up with, like, way, several years ago. Like, I'm talking about, it might be pre-2000, but at least since 2000, the name he came up with, and I used that name to produce under for a while. So by the time it rolled around, I was like, yo, man, it's time to step out and do a solo album. I wanted to make sure that, obviously, it had a separate identity from the Cornell West series. So I went and dropped that, like I said, under Tim Hicks and the Dirty Church. But through research, I found out that there were some other entities or other artists that were using that name, Dirty Church, or some variation of Dirty Church. So obviously, I stand out anyway. I'm unique anyway, so I wanted to make sure, we ain't gonna never have no issues running up against no other people, you know what I mean, and say, oh, well, hey, I'm using that name or whatever. I mean, as far as you ask me, I'm the only church as far as I know, but, like I said, I looked it up and it just made sense one day. The name popped in my head. It was like a slogan almost, let the dirt say amen. So it was like, yo, you know what, that sounds right. And I never liked stage names, if you will. Like, I don't really like creating a character, so to speak. And I like to pick names that almost sound like you don't really know. Like, oh, is this the solo artist? Is this a group? So, yeah, man, let the dirt say amen.
And I gotta say, man, it's creative. It's a one-of-a-kind name, man. I'll tell you that for a fact.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. It's, like I said, you want to make sure that, when they look up the Infinity Stones, that I'm definitely one of them, and that it stood out. So, like I said, the name transition, it makes sense because it still keeps essence of what I was doing before. You know what I mean? Ultimately, I do everything to keep the dirt in my music. So you know what I mean?
And also as well, you were actually signed to Humble March Records. I was wondering, how did yourself and that record label get connected? And of course, how did you land that deal?
Okay, word up. Shout out to my man DJ Roddy Rod and the whole Humble Monarch crew. My man Rex, Chamber, Sean Bourne. Shout out to my man YU as well. But Roddy Rod, you know, he's a star in his own right, man. He's been doing big things coming out of Massachusetts down here in the DC hip hop scene for some years. He was rocking out with Kev Brown doing a video, and I saw the video. I was like, yo, that's crazy. I need to get with whoever did that. So I found out it was my man Roddy Rod. I touched base with him, and you know, just mutual respect and love for what each other was doing. It just made sense to run with him. So, you know, Humble Monarch, Humble Monarch Records, Humble Monarch Recording. That's the platform, and yeah, he about to, like I said, we squad, man. I'm the junior member. I'm the rookie on the squad, you know. But we gonna follow it up with this guy, Hey Gucci. You know what I'm saying? It's Humble Monarch. We riding until we can, you know.
And I have to ask you as well, like, who is actually signed alongside you, if you don't mind me asking, with that record label?
So let's see, man. Humble Monarch, man. Like I said, you got a couple of just super dope projects and artists coming out from that. You got DJ Roddy Rod, like I said, who's the head cat in charge. You got my man Camber. You got Black Earth, you know, which is Camber and Howard Knox. You got my man Sean Bourne. And I'm probably missing some names of folks that I probably should definitely have at the forefront of my mind, but my brain is glitching right now. But I mean, so even without any more names, that everybody I just said is a heavy hitter within hip hop and definitely within our scene down here in DC. I'm always specific to tell people DC because that's where I'm from. I'm not from the DMV, although shout out to the entire DMV area. You know what I mean? But I come from DC. I come from the real DC.
And also, as well, I actually noticed that you are the front man for the Cornell West Theory. I was wondering if you can tell us a bit more about that group, the formation of that group, and of course, how did you actually meet the other members?
Definitely, man. First of all, shout out to Dr. Cornell West, man, for believing in us enough to let us run with that name and, you know, support us through the journey. But just like Let the Dirt say, man, one day I was working on where I'm headed musically, artistically, and that name just popped in my head, the Cornell West Theory. So my co-conspirator, best friend, brother, Rashad Dawson, a.k.a. Hoodie the Nigerian, he was like, yo, man, that name is the one, man. And, you know, we tracked Dr. West down, and like I said, he was kind enough to rock out with us, man, and be a part of almost all of our albums up to this point, give or take one or two, performing live with us, interviews, you know what I mean? But it just made sense that name, the Cornell West Theory, spoke, I think, to what I wanted to address within hip-hop, which was, you know, where's the substance-filled music? Where's the music that discusses the social conditions without glorifying bullshit, if that makes any sense.
And I have to say, man, you know, the group that you guys put together is absolutely phenomenal, man. Like, do you guys have any new projects currently in the works right now?
Definitely, man. And just real quick to tail off, because I want to make sure I answered your question in full. I met Rashad. Like I said, he's the other half in terms of the brain part, the logistics part, you know, that sort of thing with the Cornell West Theory, concepts, all of that shit. But at any rate, I met Rashad back in 1997. He was attending American University, And my younger brother was going there too. Shout out to Indigo Rose, fellow musician. Shout out to my man Born Our Music. Shout out to DeBoer Bond. They were all there at this time. Rashad came in first, and through Rashad, I actually met the other members of the crew. So there's my man John Moon. Shout out to my sister Katrina Skinner, a.k.a. Sham Steele. Shout out to Yvonne Gilmore. Shout out to my man Big Edward Greer. Shout out to my man Sam Levine, our longtime drummer. He's rocking out with a crew called Light Beams right now. Shout out to my nephew Inama, man. Came in and took up the reins once Sam went on to pursue his other endeavors. So, but we recently actually just dropped the project in 2020 called By the Time I Get to Minnesota, which was inspired by the unfortunate events, man, that happened in 2020 in regard to the murders of American citizens. You know what I mean? We're not going to even get into the whole they were black, because that's part of the problem, is, you know, sectioning all the population into these tiers and shit. The problem is that an American citizen is killed by someone that is sworn to protect them by oath and by law. So, unfortunately, it's not something new, and it's something that keeps happening. So, we're like, how can we address this? And we decided to do a whole album about it versus doing a song that might seem like, you know, we did it because it was going to be lucrative or something like that. It was like, this was personal. So, you know, Donald Trump, on his way out, thank God, him and his administration and all these things have been problematic for the people. So that's what we represent. So that's what the album is about. But yeah, man, by the time I get to Minnesota, if y'all looking for some Cornell West Area stuff, we got that out, a couple of videos up on YouTube. Yeah.
And also, one thing I have to ask you, as we already mentioned at the beginning of this interview, we got connected from ADST Media, but how did yourself and Dre actually get connected?
Okay, dope question, man. Again, salute to Dre again. I was, like I said, I'm born and raised Washington, D.C. native, from Northeast to be specific, but I've lived in D.C. my whole life until August of 2016. I moved. I decided, it's time for you to do a stint in New York. So I moved to New York, and I lived in Harlem for a year. And as I was coming back to D.C., getting ready to, readjust to being back home, and how do you make moves from here, through one of my brothers, Black Indian, who again is another dope artist in the city, one of the founding forefathers, if you will, of the many different styles, sounds, and shit. Amazing freestyler. Black Indian was down with my man Rashad. Rashad, again, like being a glue for a lot of shit. I connected with Black. I did some production for him. Through him, me, Black Indian, and one of my sisters, Kenilworth Katrina, shout out to Katrina, we were doing a song together, and ADST came out for the video shoot. So we linked in, we continued to build, see each other at different things, and, our spirits connect, man. It makes sense. So, yeah, and now here we are, going into 2021, trying to make everything expand.
And I gotta say, man, Dre is a phenomenal individual, man. So I gotta say, you most definitely got yourself a phenomenal publicist.
Yeah, man, he's on fire right now, man. He has the knack and the aspiration, to do it. He actually believes in the music that he's representing. Mine being one of them. Also, salute to ADST for his most recent endeavor, man. He dropped a song not too long ago called Good Lord, Part 2. And that's L-A-W-D, Good Lord, Part 2, featuring myself, Priest the Nomad, and Killer Carol, who both destroyed the track. Yeah, man. So ADST's been on the move, man. He's been doing stuff for Humble Monarch. He's done stuff for my brother Cornell. He just dropped something as well. Cornell actually dropped a project called The Dirty Church Presents Today's Agenda. So The Dirty Church is a little bit bigger than me, man. It's kind of grown into a, you know, a thought, idea, almost like Fight Club. You know what I'm saying? So as I do what I do with Let the Good Say, man, we still got that Dirty Church extension, and ADST, man, he right there to support us all with this, man. So we're very thankful. I'm very thankful to have that brother, man, in my corner.
And also, you actually recently released the album Bullets. I was wondering if you tell our listeners a bit more about that record, and of course, where can they snag themselves some copies today?
Definitely, man. Like I said, Bullets was my first solo debut, and talking about a good 14 years after being in the Cornell West area, and just one day it made sense that, yo, you should work on something, you know, to just represent yourself in a different way, where I can drop some different ideas as opposed to the way I approach them when I do the Cornell West area. So Bullets, the name came from the Washington Wizards. The previous name was the Bullets, you know what I mean, during the 80s and the 90s, very early 2000s maybe. Actually, I feel like they changed the name for the 2000s, like maybe 97, 98, something like that. But they changed the name because of the gun violence, because of the murders that were responsible for giving Washington, D.C. the title of murder capital of the United States during that time. And I just wanted to do something that reflected, like I said, Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, where I come from, the Chocolate City, you know what I mean? I wanted to do something that represented the hip-hop side of D.C. I wanted to do something that represented the go-go, that just captured, like I said, what D.C. was before gentrification, before, you know, pre-Obama, pre a lot of things, man. So that's what Bullets is. My sister Prowess the Testament, another dope-ass MC from D.C., once said, he said, my brother penned a love letter to our city and won an award for it. So that's the way I like to say what I can when I have to speak about that album. Yeah, man, I was just trying to write a love letter to my city and just let people know outside of my city that, yo, we got fire here. We've been had it. We've been some of the most dangerous as far as artistic talent and skill and gifts are concerned. So it's just time to let the world see that, you know what I mean? And like I said, we're in an era where everyone refers to us as the DMV, and I'm not from the DMV. I love the DMV. I love D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, but I'm from D.C. So hip-hop used to be very regional at one point. And as the time went on, you couldn't tell where anybody was from because everybody sounds the same. So, you know, I want to make sure, hey, yo, this is what D.C. sounds like according to Tim Hicks.
And I have to ask you as well, do you have any hard copies available for our listeners that really do still love that compact disc format?
So we actually don't have any hard copies, just stationary, like, you know, with me or Roddy Rod at this point. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe we have that album where you can find the physical through CD Baby, Amazon, and Google Play. I want to say that you can order it in CD form from Amazon, definitely. I believe in Google Play and maybe CD Baby. So it is a way to get your hands on a copy of that. You know, you can touch it and, you know, or not open it up, you know, put it up as some collector's items, you know. So, yeah. And we're going to look into more ways to get people physical pieces in terms of everything that's going on. Like, I'm actually in talks now with a good brother who wants to do vinyl for Bullets and, you know, potentially for God Hates Gucci. So, yeah, man, like I said, but right now, you go to Amazon, you should have an option of purchasing the album as a CD.
But I have to ask you, what is next for you? Is there anything I missed during this interview? Anything else you still want to talk about and promote while we still have you here live on the Canadian airwaves?
Well, one what's next for me is filling a void where hip-hop that has just hip hop that wasn't full of shit, that's where I come in. That's one of the things that I'm doing going forward, because I see it's a whole. I see we don't have a, you know, and this is no slight to these particular artists, but we need a Public Enemy for right now. You know what I mean? We need a Black Star for right now. We need a comment or something that makes sense in the moment. So, salute to those artists, because they're the reason why I'm here. But I just want to make sure that people know there's still some hungry cats out here. And the other thing is this, like, we live in a time where people are big on age and trying to make everything a young man's or a young woman's game. And it's not about young. It's just about youth. People think they need, and that's no diss to the youth, because we need all ages and all sectors of the population, you know what I mean, in order to make life better, in order to make the world better, the city, the state. But I think people are really focused right now on this. Hey man, if you over 30, you old or whatever, and now I'm 43, but I guarantee you I can out-rap anyone that you set in front of me, because I've been doing this for a while, because I've been paying attention to the rules, stuff that people don't care about right now. I still regard the tradition in a high respect. So it's important to put that out there, man. But I'm working on features. Like I said, I did the joint with ADST, The Good Lord Part 2. I did a joint with man RNL called Sun Shower. Got a feature coming up with my sister CKOR-DB. Shout out to Kiki. Called Wolf Walk. So yeah, man, just that. Also salute to my man Chamber and Sean Bourne, because they about to release a project called Nino Green, which I was like the sixth man on that project, if you will. I filled in a couple verses. Salute to them brothers. Salute to my man Grab Lover. So I got features coming up, and like I said, man, I finally finished the last line of a 16-track album called God Hates Gucci, which is my way of just addressing just the bullshit in hip hop, man. My way of addressing that, you know what I mean? Just saying like, yo, man, the creator, the spirit of all things good, don't approve of this stuff he's doing out here, man. It's narcissism. This glorifying violence, this death, murder, sex, money. Yeah. How could you say it in 3 words? God hates Gucci.
But Tim, this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual that slides into the radio station airwaves, just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to, and of course your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated on everything Tim Hicks, if they're not already doing so.
Yeah, definitely, man. And again, man, thank you to you, bro. I really appreciate this opportunity. So if y'all checking for me, man, you can find me on Instagram at Let the Dirt Say Amen. You can find me on Twitter at LTDS_Amen, which is just Let the Dirt Say Amen. But on Twitter, like I said, LTDS_Amen. You'll see me, you know what I mean? Shout out to my man Speech from Arrested Development for giving me my first super duper feature with world-renowned artists. I was able to land a verse on the newest Arrested Development project they dropped right towards the end of 2020. It's called Don't Fight Your Demons. And yeah, man, that's like a dream come true, you know what I mean? Again, I was one of the kids that grew up listening to Tennessee, listening to Revolution, listening to Everyday People, Mr. Wendy, Speech's solo stuff. So when he gave me the call, it was like, yo, you jump up, man, and do what it is that I've been dreaming of doing all this time. So y'all can check that joint. The song is actually called Play With Fire. All right? Playing With Fire, sorry. And that's on Don't Fight Your Demons, the latest album by the Grammy Award-winning the genre-changing Arrested Development. So, like I said, I've been working on the features. Shout out to my sisters Helen and Celia from Lay Nubians. Shout out to my man Do It All from Lords of the Underground. Shout out to Diamond D. Shout out to DJ Premier. Salute to all the homies in DC, man. Capital Ill Radio, DJ RB Live, DJ T-Tone. Like I said, my man YU, Uptown XO, Pinky Killer Corn, and the list can go on and on and on. I keep it right there and just say, yo, whatever y'all do, just make sure you let the dirt say amen.
And I gotta say, first and foremost, Tim, thank you so much for just taking a little bit of time out of your evening, man, and coming on 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM, man. It's always an absolute honor to have such talented individuals like yourself slide into the radio station airwaves, man. So I hope down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing what transpires within your career, this year in 2021.
Hey, man, thank you, man. Look, again, DJ Immortal, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate the whole of Canada. I was able to come check y'all out when I was a baby, like right around 5, 6 years old. My parents took a trip up to Toronto, so, I got to make sure I come back through as an adult and check y'all out, man. But shout out to the whole Canada. Shout out to the whole world, man. France, UK, Africa. God bless Africa. All right, and, we got a couple of more days, y'all, in America. Let's chill out. Let's get together. And let's celebrate the fact that the town idiot is leaving, and we got work to do. You know what I mean? I hope all the people in D.C. that's causing havoc right now, man, put them guns down. Because we need y'all. We can use y'all.
Most definitely. Thank you so much, Tim, and most definitely have yourself a good night out there in Washington.
Hey, man, definitely, man. Again, big shout-outs to Canada, man. Y'all keep going, and hopefully I'll see y'all soon, man. Once this pandemic clears up, I definitely want the opportunity to touch down and do some touring up there and, link with others that's a part of the movement that I'm a part of, which is life, man, which is hip-hop. So salute to you again, DJ Immortal. Love you, bro.
Hey, man, most definitely. You're always welcome here in Canada, man. Thank you so much, and most definitely have yourself a great night, man. We shall talk soon.
For sure, bro. Y'all take care.